you think you're doing, Ez?
No, nothing, sir. What do you mean?
Oh, come on. You know what I mean.
Well, she wanted to come home, Sheriff.
She told me she did, otherwise
Now, look, Ez. This is a 35-mile-an-hour zone, and you were going 50 if you were going anything. Now, let me smell your breath. Good God! What in the hell is that?
What is up, everybody? Mr. Slipcover Bullet Blake here. I have my first Blue review of 2025 for you today. I'm going to try and do every Vinegar Syndrome release this year. I'll obviously do other releases too if I have time or the ability. I'm going to do the partner labels that I feel like doing. The ones that I don't do, I'll try and throw up on Letterboxd just so I have some semblance of what I liked and what I didn't like, I guess. But yeah, so this year I'm going to start with Deranged from 1974. I was kind of expecting to really be into this movie. Like, I know we talked about it when it was announced. We said, yeah, it's a pretty well made movie. I'd never seen it. MC said it was good, I think. I don't know. I'd have to go back and watch for sure. But it's an interesting movie, loosely based on Ed Gein, which sounds promising with how successful all the serial killer movies and series have been on Netflix and TV and all so on and so forth. So I was pretty excited about it. I think it is a well-made movie. Like, I don't know if I really enjoyed it. Like, I can acknowledge that it was a well-made movie, but it felt a little on the slow side. Like, I mean, I know it's a slow burn and all that, but it's just kind of daunting with how long it takes to actually get to the plot, I guess. I mean, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's a bad movie by any means, but I'm just saying it wasn't what I like. I'm not going to say it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. It kind of hit that mark. Like, it was very fake documentary-esque type movie. It had a narrator to make it even seem more authentic, as if it's like some real documentary.
Now he intended to restore, and to that purpose, he began reading everything he could about embalming, taxidermy. But it wasn't an easy job. His mother had been buried for over a year now. There were lots of repairs to make. He tried to patch her with fish skin, with wax, with any substance which he thought resembled human flesh. It wasn't until later that the idea of using real flesh occurred to him.
Which I don't know if I was a fan of. I know it gives it this more like authentic feel, but it wasn't really like, I don't know. I just wasn't really that into it. Now, the performances were great. Robert Blossom, he nailed the part. Like, I know he plays, I think his name's Ezra Cobb. So he's not really Ed Gein, but he is Ed Gein. Like, it's very obviously, like, based on Ed Gein. Like, it's an Ed Gein biopic, basically. Just different names. That's like, I don't have to really divulge much more of the plot than that. I know that it starts off like really slow with this guy just living with his mom, and she's kind of crazy, but they're both like just been living in exile from the rest of the world, basically. So they're both kind of a little crazy. She like is a religious fanatic.
But I just know some money-stealing bitch is gonna come along and try to take advantage of you. Remember what I've always told you. The wages of sin is gonorrhea, syphilis, and death. They'll use their bodies to steal from you. They'll steal your life and your soul.
Her death scene was, and this isn't a spoiler, this happens in the first 10 minutes of the movie. she dies. That's what triggers his whole like obsession with grave robbing and mutilating the bodies to try and replace her body. But it starts off really weird with like his obsession with his mother, and he's like trying to feed her. And there's literally a scene in there where he's like trying to force her to eat this soup because it's good and hot. And it's so awkwardly done where he's like putting it in her mouth and she's like refusing it, and then all of a sudden she profusely starts spewing blood. Meanwhile, he's like trying to still put the peas in her mouth as blood is like all over her face, and he's trying to shove it back into her mouth.
Please, Mama. Please, Mama, don't leave me. Mama, don't bleed. Don't bleed. No. Mama.
I was taken out right there. I was laughing. Maybe I'm a horrible person because I found that hysterical, because he's like trying to shove the blood back into his mother's face. All seriousness that could have been in that movie was gone right there for me. And the blood looks so cartoonish. It's like red paint. And I know Tom Savini did the special effects. Awesome. I love Tom Savini. This is like his second movie he ever did, so his skill level wasn't quite there. He still did good. Like for 1974, it's great. I mean, the blood looked better than Dawn of the Dead, or Day of the Dead. It was just awkward. And after that, like, they have this weird funeral scene. I think it's one of the most awkward like funeral scenes ever. And the way it's shot was so weird to me, because they just had like 3 people and then the casket, and they keep each person, he's like at dead middle, and then there's 2 people on sides, and they keep turning and saying stuff to him, and then they'll turn forward, and then the other one will turn and say something, and then turn forward, and then the other one. And that part like was irritating. I don't know why they went with that choice. I mean, I guess it was probably for like cast short, because they only had 3 people on screen, but that wasn't great either. Obviously, the kills weren't great either. I don't know. I know some people might like this movie. I just didn't really care for it. And I thought I was going to like it. I thought it was going to be like a hit for the month. Now I'm holding out hope for a couple other titles. But this one just wasn't the home run that I thought it was going to be. Obviously, it's got some deranged shit in there, too. I mean, it's called Deranged. The kills in there are interesting once he starts doing that instead of just grave robbing, which I don't want to give too many spoilers away, but there's a couple in there that are okay. Mainly one. Like, again, I don't want to spoil it, so I'll just leave it at that. I honestly just didn't really care for the movie. I don't think I would revisit it. I don't think it's one that most people would want to own. I would give it. I want to give it 2.5 stars, just because it's a well-made movie, and I know Robert Blossom was nailing the part.
What are you doing, Ez?
It just wasn't great. Like, I wasn't that invested in the characters. That said, I mean, slipcover's not terrible. Artwork on the back's pretty cool. This is a partnership with MGM that they did. I don't think I would recommend this to most people, unless you're like Ed Gein. Like, if you're like into serial killer shit, sure, yeah, hop on this, watch it. You'll probably enjoy it more than I did. But I just didn't really care. And the ending's kind of irritating. Like, I won't spoil it, but and that's the part that really throws in the Ed Gein. I just didn't care. So that 2.5, like, it's not bad, but it's not good. Like, it's just towing the line right down the middle. It's well made, good performances, but just overall pretty boring movie. I did watch the special features on this, and they weren't all that interesting to me. There's one with Tom Savini. I think it's a pretty decent, very unnatural deaths is the first special feature I watched because it had Tom Savini in it, obviously, and he does a really good interview telling all about his like experience making this movie and it being his second movie. That was more entertaining to me than the actual movie. There's another interview with Brian Smeagol called "It Was a Fun Time." I think he's like a actor. He played Brad, I think his name was. The older boy who goes hunting in the end. Hey, and that interview was actually pretty cool too, because obviously, like, it was entertaining. He had a little tidbit in there about how the credits misspelled his name. Cool stuff. There's an interview in there with Nightmare USA author Stephen Thrower, Disturbed, Demented, and Deranged, which is 24 minutes. And at that point, I had lost all interest, so I did not watch it. I wasn't that invested, like I said, to really care to give 24 minutes more to this movie. Then they had the making of Deranged, which was an archival documentary. Interesting, but I kind of skipped through it a little bit. An interview with producer Tom Carr. Didn't watch that one. And there's an introduction in there with Tom Savini, too. It's archival, I think, because he's definitely not the introduction from this movie, because he looks significantly older in the current interview on here versus that. It doesn't say archival introduction. It just says introduction to the film by Tom Savini. So I thought it was going to be a new one, but it wasn't. And then it's got the 3 trailers and image gallery, the typical added supplemental features. But yeah, that's about where I landed on this movie. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't good, if that makes sense. But that is my first Blue review for the year. So if you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribe. Comment down below if you even watch these. I don't know. They're a lot of work. So if people are interested in them, I'll keep doing them. If they're not, if there's like no interest, I'm not going to put the effort forth and make these. So give it that thumbs up. Let me know. But until next time, have a good day.
If you need any help later, after I'm gone, call Maureen Selby. Maureen's the only woman I ever did trust. She's fat, that's why. A big heifer. But she's the only good-hearted woman I ever knew. As for the rest of them, a lot of filthy, black-souled sluts with pus-filled sores and...